Most amateur motocrossers come to Loretta's with a goal of being the national champion, and some will make that dream come true. Others will feel the pain of coming just that close. Either way, the best amateur motocross riders in America are here to show the world what they can do.
Welcome to part two of our continuing coverage of the 36th annual Rocky Mountain ATVMC AMA Amateur National Motocross Championship presented by Lucas Oil. Hello everyone, Jason Wygant again, joined by former champion in this event, Jimmy Albertson. This is the place where riders come to get discovered and the place where professional motocross teams come to see the riders they want to hire in the future. Now they could potentially just stay at home and look at the results on the internet and figure they know everything they need to know from that. But it's a lot more complex process than just looking at results.
It really is. Being here and watching the riders is a completely different story. I did own a race team last year, and I picked a couple racers out of Loretta Lynn's, and I went off of lap times and kind of seeing where the racers were as far as pure outright speed. Something we could work with, and that's a famous saying, we can always work with speed. So trying to find a young rider who just needs those special little pieces to put them to the next level. But it's all hard. Sometimes you have to see it with your own two eyes to believe it. And guys like Justin Cooper this weekend, watching him for the first time, I'm amazed. His riding style and everything, it relates to much more than just a fast lap time or winning a championship. It's finding out those little keys that is going to make him a success at the next level.
There's definitely a lot of different ways to get discovered and a lot of different pathways to success as a pro, but one thing is for sure, you better come here and at least give it a shot in this race if you have any chance of being discovered.
Well, number one, you got to have speed. No getting around that, but like myself, I won one Loretta championship here, and it was my last year that I raced here. So you don't have to have all the championships. You don't have to win every year you come here. You have to show heart, you have to show talent, you have to show speed. So if you have one or two of those things, and you have a decent races here, you can end up with a ride and things like that. You don't have to win every race here.
Well, Ryan Villapoto, as a young amateur, dealt with the type of pressure that Derek Drake is dealing with right now, trying to win the 250B class. And the marked man is the 82, Garrett Marchbanks. It's been quite an adventure for him to get to this level.
Yeah, my adventure has been great with the moto scene right now this past year. It's, heck, went and won all my motos at Cal Classic, all the championships at Cal Classic in Mammoth, and got to go home for a little bit, but since then I've been on the road training for Loretta's, and heck, I'm pretty excited after this week to go home for a while and go hang out with my friends and family.
Yeah, originally from Utah, but does all of his training on the East Coast in South Carolina. He doesn't get to see his mom and dad very often. That's what it takes, though, if you want to follow in the footsteps of the superstars in this sport and make it as a pro. Terrible start, though, for Marchbanks. A bad jump on the 82. He's way back. Wow.
It looked like Carter Halpern was right beside him. They both got screwed up on it. It looked like kind of tried to jump early, getting out of the gate there.
Yeah, they double clutched it, pulled the clutch in and out. That's not going to work. Blake Ashley on the Yamahas up front. But look at the Honda man. The Japanese rider, Joe Shimoda, right there, but a wide line for him. And here comes Seth Hamaker on the green Kawasaki.
Hamaker getting off the gate early in moto number one. That is a good sign for that Team Green rider. But we'll see if Ashley can't keep a hold of this lead.
Hamaker and Shimoda battling hard for second, and Pierce Brown in 63, the Troy Lee KTM in fourth. He's trying to get up inside Shimoda while Hamaker's trying to get the lead from Ashley. Hamaker came up short of that jump, shrugged it off, still trying to take that number one spot away, and he does it.
Wow, look at the intensity on the first lap in this B class. Guys are just dicing, fighting for it. Look, Brown trying to get the drive on the outside to get on Shimoda, and now it looks like he's gonna collect Ashley. Shimoda's gonna get around him too.
Woo! And then a mistake for the 63 of Brown allows Ashley to hold him off. He said the key word, intensity here.
I love this sand section, man. You can just power around the outside as Pierce Brown's showing us right now. Carry that momentum. So much longer to go around that way, but he makes it work, gets on the inside, controls the pass. And he's going to try to work his way up to Shimoda.
So everyone knows that Garrett Marchbanks is considered the big star here. So they're all trying to take him down, and with him getting the bad start, the door is open, and you can see that everyone is charging extra hard to take advantage. St. Merritt way around the outside to try to get Ashley, and he makes the pass, sets him up on the inside here.
You know what, it used to always be the A class. That's what everyone's looking at. Who's going to get the ride? Well, now it's B class. Everybody's looking at these B riders thinking, okay, who are we going to sign after this race for their final year of A? And Ashley still fighting with Merritt, I believe, there. And then Halpane on the 17, making this a 4-rider dogfight. Wow, so much roost coming off those tires. You see that rider back there. Not sure who that is, but on the KTM, it looks like that is Derek Drake. So Drake, another one of those KTM riders, along with Pierce Brown. Pierce Brown ride for the TLD team. Now you have guys like Derek Drake, who is just on their amateur program, trying to make a statement here at Loretta's, and he makes a tough inside move on Halpane, trying to put himself forward, but Halpane controlling in the Ten Commandments. Drake having that triple line, though. Let's see what happens to the split here, though. These are such cool sections they put in here, and it looks like he's going to make it stick. So Merritt is now the next guy on the list for Drake.
Okay, so Derek Drake on that 33 moving forward in a hurry. Yeah, he's trying to get St. Merritt, who's right in front of him on the other orange KTM, and then another KTM in front of them, Pierce Brown. Derek Drake not messing around here.
The inconsistency of this track just blows my mind every single year. How quick you can gain time on somebody or lose time on somebody just because the technicality of the track. And it looks like Merritt trying to get back up the inside. These guys are Orange Brigade teammates, and you know what? Sometimes teammate rivalries are way stronger, and it just looks like Merritt drove it in a little bit too hard, and he's going to give up that spot to his teammate Drake.
Now we'll go back to the start. There is Marchbanks. Yeah, he flinches too early.
I think it was almost Halpane flinching just a tiny bit, and then he's thinking, oh, he's going, I'm going to go. And they kind of screwed each other up there, two big title contenders next to each other, not helping each other out at all.
Now, Halpane's start obviously was not terrible because he's battling toward the front right now, but way back, oh, Pierce Brown, a big mistake, and Derek Drake's going to make another pass.
Like I said, Pierce Brown's on that KTM ride that into the pros, the TLD team, so this is a huge ride for Drake right now, trying to prove his worth to that manufacturer KTM, but Joe Shimoda right in front of him. So we got a tight little pack here, really battling over second place because these guys aren't too far behind. We got the KTMs battling out for the final spot on the podium. Shimoda just right up there, but Hammaker out front.
Yeah, we haven't seen much of him.
Haven't
he
seen him at all.
Checked out. Yeah, so Seth Hammaker leads, Joe Shimoda on the Honda is second, and then it's these KTM boys battling it out for third. But as you mentioned, Shimoda's not too far ahead of them. Oh, and another mistake from Pierce Brown.
We had talked about these hooks and these ruts all weekend, Jason. They will come up and grab you. That's why it is so important to be on your toes, constantly searching for the best line. You can go through a corner one lap, it's starting to get nasty. You better know that next lap is going to be worse.
The Amateur National Motocross Championship at Loretta Lynn Ranch is brought to you by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. And by Lucas Oil. Made in America, sold to the world. Malcolm Stewart, an alumnus of this race, led the amateurs on every one of their sighting laps during practice all day on Monday.
You know, it was an opportunity for me to, I always wanted to do this. Last person I seen do this was Kevin Walker, so it was cool to see him do it, and I just decided I wanted to do it too. Not a lot of riders, just want to offer this, to do this, because it's a long day, it makes a long day, but, I'm here for the kids, and that's what it's all about. You can't forget where you came from.
And Malcolm was out here all week watching these motos, hanging out with kids, handing out water, shaking hands. But it's all intense on the track right now. I'm sure he's excited to watch this because Garrett Marchbanks, the terrible start, has come all the way up to 5th. And this battle we've been watching the entire race is now right in front of him. You got Shimoda, Drake, and Carter Halpane. Marchbanks got a shot to finish second in this one.
Carter Halpane, one of those guys who is, I think, no more for a 450 guy. Oh, it looks like Marchbanks making the fast line around the outside. When you've came that far from the back, and you know how quick you're catching somebody, these guys also know you're coming around. And so when they see you, it's almost like it's inevitable that this pass is going to happen. A lot of times you see the guys lay down a little bit quicker. But when you have been battling through the field and you see a group of 4 riders, I guarantee you Marchbanks had a couple laps where he was just all by himself. You see that group of 4, you're like, oh my gosh, that's 4 riders. I can possibly get them in a couple laps. That's huge. And Marchbanks making his march towards the front of the field.
Oh, nice job, Jimmy, with that. Now, because here's the key. It's a 3-moto format, and every moto counts. So if you're Marchbanks, the difference between a 5th in the first moto and a 2nd could be the difference of the championship by the end of the week. So these are such critical passes if he can make them. Drake and Shimoda right in front of him. You've got the red, the orange, and the green. They're all going into the 10 commandments together. 10 jumps and completely different ways to attack it. Marchbanks, quick pass on Drake.
You just tell by the body language of Marchbanks over the front of the bike, you know, really setting it into the pockets of the 10 commandments. He's feeling it right now. He's charging forward. You know, like you were saying before, moto score wise, a 3rd, you're still controlling your own destiny. A 4th, that puts it out of it. You know, Hammaker, if he ends up going out there and having 2 seconds, a 1st and 2 seconds, he's still gonna end up winning the overall. So Marchbanks right now making sure that he's in that 3rd place spot. Now he's in control of the championship.
Well, now he's in control of 2nd. It looks like he's about to lock it down on Shimoda. So that's a huge difference. Yeah, Marchbanks gets 2nd in this race and gets the other 2 moto wins, 2-1-1. Like you said, he controls his own destiny, and no one can stop him. What a charge for Marchbanks to get these guys. And it's not like Shimoda and Drake aren't trying hard. They were pushing the entire race.
There's that fast outside line, just keeping his feet on the pegs, toes nice and tucked in. There's really nothing Hal Payne could have done about that. Just like I was saying, look at how he's greasing into the pockets, not clipping up too hard on that 10 Commandments section. Man, that's just incredible riding by Marchbanks. And then here, just smashing that little hook there, but keeping the body tight, keeping the core engaged, able to put another pass, putting himself into 2nd. What a ride by Marchbanks, but it has all been Seth Hammaker, and we have not been able to talk about him. You know, maybe you should try to slow up a little bit and battle around so we can get a little more time with us. But Hammaker, what a ride, taking the Moto #1 victory.
And that's big for him. Marchbanks caught everyone else, but he could not catch Hammaker, the young man out of Pennsylvania. And Kawasaki does this on purpose. They put 2 of their stars together in the same class. They want to see them race against each other. Is Marchbanks happy to have come back to 2nd or mad about that start?
You know, knowing Garrett Marchbanks does not lose often, I'd say he's pretty upset, even though that was a killer ride.
Wow. When we return, the quest for amateur national championships continues.
The rain has come down, and we're going to show you the final moto of our 65 class here at Loretta's. Why? Because one of the hallmarks of this event with the 3-moto format and the races spread out throughout a week's worth of time, you're going to have hot motos, dry motos, and yes, sometimes a championship on the line in the rain and mud. And it's 2 buddies on KTM's, Hayden Deegan and Daxton Bennick. Whoever wins this moto wins the title, and they've got to deal with Mother Nature.
This has been my favorite class to watch all week. These guys are like full-blown professionals, just downsized onto small bike. Deegan and Bennick have been on fire all week. That has been the battle. And right now, mud, the great equalizer. Let's see who can ride the mud the best. And we know that Deegan, he's a California boy, but right now he's not looking like one. He's looking like maybe a European racer or something. He's used to that mud.
And he's gone already in the lead. 4th place is his title rival, Bennick. He's trying to split the difference. But Hayden Deegan, an incredible run. Like you said, Southern California, you wouldn't think he could ride this well in the mud, but under pressure, riding extremely well.
I'm just going to go on record and say this is the best mud riding I've ever seen out of any mini bike rider in my entire life.
That says a lot.
He had so much balance, and, you know, even going down, but that's part of riding in the mud. Like, if you notice any great mud riding performance, the guys usually go down who win it, but they're in the zone, they pick their stuff back up, they keep charging, pushing the limit. Whenever you start tensing up and worried about falling, he's not worried about falling. If he falls, he picks his bike back up, still gonna take the moto win.
And with it, the title, the Deegan family finally has one.
All right. actually on the line, I'm like, this is probably going to be the funnest race of my life. And I got off to like second place start, got into first, and I just checked out by 40 seconds, and I was like, all right, this is sweet, and took my time and had a great race. Yeah, I was going up like a lip, and my front end tucked up it, and I slid out, and I was like, my bike weighed like 200 pounds. It was so heavy to get up, and got up and took off, and just had fun from there.
I have to say that this is the most nerve-wracking race I've ever watched. And I'm not just saying that. I was like, oh my gosh, stay up, stay up. And my pit board, I was just saying shift because I wanted to make sure he was shifting the bike. And then I just put plus 20, plus 30. But I didn't want him to get too comfortable. And that's what happened the last lap. I see him kind of cruising. I'm like, you still got a race. And he fell over. I'm like, dude, do not throw it away the last lap. And I mean, long story short, I came down here with my dad, and we slept in the woods in a van, and we raced this race since I was a little kid. And I always got second place. Like, no one knows the story, but the last year here, I went 1-1 in 258 and in the water, and I went down and got knocked out. And that was the last chance I had. So for him to win, it's a big deal. You know, in the end, I couldn't really be more proud. It's like, as a dad, it's hard to explain until you have kids. I mean, compared to everything I've ever done, X Games wins, Supercross, everything, it's been a rush, but nothing like watching your child hard work pay off. Like, it's hard to explain.
Well, big congrats to the Deegan family. Hayden can already say he's done something that his dad was not able to do and get a championship at Loretta's. We're back to our 250B coverage. Now Seth Hammaker is the one everyone is looking at after that first moto win. But let's see if he and the 82 at Marchbank start together, how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, yes, he did win the first moto, but if you're Hammaker, you're looking at times and where he started, and you're thinking, this is going to be a battle as long as he gets a decent start or stays on two wheels.
So here we go, Moto 2 of 3 in 250B.
Phelps looks like he rolled the gate a little bit there. He had a killer jump. Let's see if it's going to work out for him. But it's Shimoda with the hole shot. He also, I believe, got our hole shot the last moto. Oh, but it looks like he makes a little bobble trying to get on the inside. Has to swap over to the outside. Look at how many spots he's just lost, Weege.
Yeah, he went from first to fourth, and look, he's in the lead now. Phelps, who we saw time that gate perfectly, and now it pays off. He's in the lead on that number 35.
Two new KTM faces up front. We got Levi Newby running in second right now. Phelps out front, and the Yamaha Blake Ashley in that second spot. I believe Ashley was actually the one who pulled the hole shot in the first moto. So Shimoda and Ashley having great starts in both motos, but right now it is the 35 out front on the KTM with Levi Newby hot all over the back of him.
Yeah, and you got the Kawasaki at Marchbanks in fourth. But this battle up front, Newby doesn't even care what run. He's just going to take one of them and try to use it to get the lead. Let's see if Phelps can hold him off around the outside. It is wheel to wheel in the first lap. Phelps, for the moment, holding on to the lead. Outside line for Newby. But it's going to pay off for him.
Newby carrying that momentum around the outside, but it seems to be like Phelps giving it everything he has. You see how slippery it was where they had watered there, but still hanging it out, carrying that momentum. But I think, yes, Newby will make the pass. Now, Levi Newby, he has actually won a championship here at Loretta's in the C class. A little bit of a different path than most people. Let's see if Phelps can make it work around the outside, though. He is not done.
No, not giving up. But this time, Newby's going to beat him to the inside.
Newby sets it in, but Newby having a killer run here, making the move on Phelps, sticking that inside line, still carrying enough momentum, though, to make the pass stick. But Newby, actually a rider out of Montana, lives and trains down in Georgia now, but being up from Montana, that is a completely different way than all these kids who grew up in Southern California or Florida, all these places. But we got our first moto winner, Seth Hammaker, and he did not get a good start like he did in the first moto. He's having to work for it, and he's got Marchbanks a couple spots ahead of him.
Yeah, well, we were wondering if those two Kawasaki riders started together, how it would turn out. They were 1-2 in the first moto. There's Hammaker on that green Kawasaki on the inside. Probably going to get a little desperate, and he goes down.
And we just saw Phelps the lap before get that wheel spin, and that's where he lost the position to Newby. That slippery little uphill right there, water, it is collecting guys right now, making them have mistakes. And it just happened there. Wow, Hal Payne just coming up way short on quadding into those rollers. We had saw him doing that in the 450 class. And here in the 250F class, trying to jump it too, maybe not just having enough power. Oh no, Pierce Brown stalling it. Woo. But keeping it running or have that electric start, that must be a nice little luxury on those KTMs, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. That we thought maybe it was a bike problem, but he got the bike refired. Now we got Lance Kobush coming through on the 99. That other Kawasaki rider, man, these beginning of the motos, it gets so jumbled. St. Merritt, Joe Shimoda in there. Here is Hammaker going down. And like you mentioned, you can see that water down there. So your first moto winner now has to deal with his adversity. And here's what happened to Pierce Brown.
Just looked like he got a little bit out of control coming to that corner and just had to jam the brakes on. Probably just locked the rear tire up without having the clutch pulled in, stalled it. Little mistake, but man, when you have it in these tight groups and battles and you lose 2 spots, that can just completely turn your race around. But Marchbank's going after Newbie.
Ooh.
Newbie putting up a fight. I like to see that out of the rider. This guy really didn't have a high-profile name coming into this, but he's trying to make a name for himself, and that is the best way to do it, trying to take down Garrett Marchbanks, who is the highlight rider in this class.
Yeah, and now Marchbanks showing with the start what he could do with it. He came from way back to second in Moto 1, and now starting about 4th in this, and now running away with the lead. Battle is on here. This is the B class. They consider it the intermediate ranks of motocross. One more level above this as an amateur, be the A ranks, and then it's on to the professionals. These kids are all trying to have those breakthrough rides. For Levi Newby here, watching right now on the 28, he's under serious pressure from Pierce Brown, trying to hold on to 3rd. Carter Hallpayne in 17 just ahead of them.
Yeah, Hallpayne put in a strong ride here, but we got the KTM boys behind him. Like we said, Pierce Brown on that TLD factory KTM ride, and the Orange Brigade rider Levi Newby trying to hold on to things here, but he is kind of getting ate up at the end of this race. Nonetheless, having a great ride so far.
Here's the 10 Commandments. Brown around the outside. Newby on the inside.
All it takes is that inside line. You notice how it gets that little chuck holes coming out of it where they're accelerating down, and it just unsettles the bike. It's Newby losing a little bit of time, not carrying momentum across some of that rough stuff. But now Brown is going to be setting his sights on Hallpayne on that 17 Yamaha. We're running late in this race. We'll see if he can't make a move and pick up one more spot before the checker flag flies.
So Brown had that big mistake earlier and stalled the motorcycle. He has found his groove, though. Hallpayne desperately trying to cling to second as Garrett Marchbanks has gotten away, and our first moto winner, Seth Hammaker, had a crash. And this outside line working again for Pierce Brown.
It does. Like I was saying, you're getting on the throttle. There's those square edge bumps. It just unsettles the bike. You lose too much momentum. Pierce Brown has found himself a nice little line to make moves. And as a racer, you love it when you find something that nobody else has, because you just follow the guy until you hit that one spot and you know it's going to work every single time. It's a great feeling of confidence to have that in your back pocket. So we'll see if he can't use that to his advantage anymore in this race.
Now, an interesting thing with Brown in second and Marchbanks in first, both out of Utah, and they have been taking championships and 1-2 finishes like this as they've gone through the amateur ranks. And they're pretty good friends off the track. It's just almost a coincidence that they're both out of Utah, both about the same age, and both generally running up front in their classes. But that happens a lot in motocross circles. You get these packs that form.
Yeah, you know, we had a pack like that formed in my generation with kids from Minnesota. Like,
yep.
Why Minnesota, right? It just
yeah.
doesn't make sense with guys like Dungy and the Martin brothers. And yeah, there's even more of I can't think of
Hallpayne.
Oh, Hallpayne, that was that big, that's
yes.
right for where that big quad was. He was
Yep.
jumping. We saw him case it. And let's see if that's what ended up happening, because that is a risky move. High risk,
This
high
landing of the
reward.
jump, yeah, he goes flying. That was just after the landing. He was one of the few riders trying to air that jump out.
You know, he was doing it so smooth and consistent on that 450, and I can tell you what, maybe that 250 just didn't have quite the power and he couldn't get the distance off it. Now he's taking a ride back by the medical unit, but out front it's Garrett Marchbanks with that decent start. It wasn't even a great start, a decent start, showing everybody what he can do when he's not running into trouble.
Making his way through lap traffic right now on that number 82, and as we talked about at the top of the show, 14, 15-year-olds in this class, they often move all the way from one side of the country to the other. He's from Utah, but to ride and train full-time at a facility that prepares riders for this, he has had to move into the Carolinas, and he doesn't get to see his mom and dad very often, but that's the kind of dedication it takes if you want to be elite, really in any sport. It's no different here in motocross. It is a full-time deal, even for teenagers. And this second Moto win is huge for Marchbanks. This is the second in Moto 1. He now controls his own destiny going into Moto number 3. Lance Kobush, a great comeback, late moves to get third, and your first Moto winner, Hammaker, 7th. Time for Moto 3 of 250B. Host Marcus Phelps on the extreme inside there, trying to time that gate again. But Garrett Marchbanks this time grabs a hole shot, so he's now proven that he can do it with a bad start all the way to second, a mid-pack start to the lead, and then in this moto showing what he can do when he gets the hole shot. Derek Drake and Joe Shimoda were there to try to challenge him early on, and those are riders with the good rides from KTM and Honda trying to measure themselves against Marchbanks, but Marchbanks would march away, and you see how emotional he is to win this championship in the very coveted 250B division.
Yeah, it's the first time I get to go home 4.5, 5 months, and it's just a great feeling after winning the first championship here at Loretta's. And I missed last year, had some bad luck, but it's been great winning my 7th one this year, so I'm pretty pumped.
Be sure to remember the name Garrett Marchbanks in the professional ranks in the future. We'll be back with more coverage from the world's greatest motocross vacation after this. Welcome back to the Amateur National Motocross Championship. So much to see with a week-long event like this. But imagine if you could only see this. For lifelong fan Brian Spencer, it's all he's ever seen.
Yes, I was born blind with a condition called optic nerve hypoplasia, which means the optic nerves are too small, so that allows me for just a little bit of light, but absolutely no vision. So I love the 4 major stick and ball sports as much as any person, but for a blind person, sound is golden, and motocross is complete sound. Whether it's a panic rev with a throttle, or a different throttle pattern, maybe for somebody going for a different line or a different part of the track. I get to listen for that and know also what's happening. I would imagine the adrenaline of motocross is something that really I can't picture, but I do the best I can just with imagining jumping and imagining cornering and imagining if I have to scrub and what that feels like, and also imagining the start. So I do have to use my imagination where other people use visualization, but I would not say to truly be able to find the action in it. I believe that God gives us 4 other senses to use. Let's use them.
Announcers Tower here at Loretta's, and at some of the big professional events as well. He loves the sport as much as anyone. Now we're focusing on our women's class, 12 years old and up. Hannah Hodges is the rider to beat for the championship. She's on that green Kawasaki, getting out to the lead early. This is the 3rd moto. Now she doesn't need to win this moto to win the title, but ever is she competitive. But you got Taylor Higgins, Jasmine Canfield, and Jordan Jarvis, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and they're keeping the heat on.
You know, we talked about this in the women's class, how there's so many different bikes being ridden. You have the 254 stroke, the 125 two-stroke, and the 252 stroke. But that's Canfield making a charge up on Hodges, getting on the inside of her, trying to make sure that she can keep the championship hopes alive. But both feet off in those ruts, losing momentum, losing drive. And now Jordan Jarvis is in the picture. She is coming up. She is going to make the move on her Yamaha stablemate and try to set her sights onto Hannah Hodges.
Now Jarvis DNF did not finish the first moto of the week in this class. She won the second moto. She wants to win this third moto, end it with a 1-1. Hannah Hodges is trying to hold on for the championship, and Canfield, who is the one rider that can take it away from her, has gone down.
It's getting just super late in the day here, and Canfield knew she was going to have to hang it out if she wanted to be in contention, but it looks like Jarvis making the outside move work. And 1 lap to go. What a time to make the pass stick, and she is going to hold on to it. Jordan Jarvis, that DNF is going to kill her championship dreams, though. She will go DNF 1-1. Hannah Hodges will pick up that second and the championship.
It feels really good. I had a really rough week in both classes, and I was just really happy to come out here and show everyone I could actually do.
Loretta's is what we work for all year, so it's great to be here. And this is my first one in the women's class. It's all been in girls, so this one feels good. I was always in the super mini in the women's class, so it was always coming from the back off the start, and feels good to finally get this one off the shoulder.
Well, congrats to Hannah, and also a bevy of young riders in our mini cycle ranks. Perhaps the best mix here of serious racers who like to have a lot of fun as well. As much as a trip to Loretta Lynn's ranch is a vacation, it's still all about how the racers perform on the track. And this is what parents want to see, a muddy smile after a moto. Or in the case of 51 4-6 champion Roxanne Reinhardt, it's all about a lift of the National Championship shield. Same thing for Landon Palmer in the shaft drive 50 class. And Drew Adams keeping the mystique alive that redheads go fast on dirt bikes. Then there's names we've already come to know, like Ryder DiFrancesco winning an 85cc title. Wesley Allen was both smiling and exhausted after winning 250C. And how you doing, Matt LeBlanc, after a title?
I kind of got a little sketchy at the face of a jump, crashed, went in the creek, and got back up as fast as I could. My bars were bent, front brake was broke, but I rode it on in, got fifth, and got the championship.
And congrats to Stockton Steinbach for it. In the 450B limited class, one of the most intriguing of the week as 3 riders were eyeing the title. Justin Rodbell, Zane Merritt, and Ezra Hastings all had a shot at it. Here is Hastings and Rodbell dueling after Merritt took the early lead and never looked back, but he had some inconsistency throughout the week. Hastings just needed to settle into second to lock up the title. Merritt goes 1-5-1, happy to get the moto win, but also disappointed because it's not enough for the championship. The 2-2-2 scores give it to Ezra Hastings. Justin Rodbell, a hard comeback, comes up just short. Here's Hastings.
I got to a really good start, was about third, and started getting really sketchy, and so I slowed down and got my pace going, and then I knew I had to finish behind Merritt, so that's what I did, and Rodbell was behind me, and just had to push myself the whole race.
And here's your full list of champions from the Rocky Mountain ATVMC AMA Amateur National Motocross Championship. Every single one of these riders has something to be proud of and something that can never be taken away from them. And if nothing else, at least these riders made Mom happy, and that's what it's really all about. Let's cap this off with coverage from 250A and the coveted AMA Horizon Award on the line in this one. Justin Cooper has a championship in Open Pro Sport. If he can get it done in 250A, he would be considered the outstanding graduate. So pressure is on to deliver here. Blake Taylor here in the first moto gets the whole shot. Nathan Hall right with him. Also a good start for Challen Tennant on the 69, that blue Yamaha, the red gear.
Blake Taylor on the 252-stroke YZ out front in this one. It's kind of cool. I guarantee he's one of the very few riders on the 2-stroke motorcycle making it happen out here. But it looks like, Challen Tennant getting a good drive, able to triple single out. He is going to make the move and put himself into the first place spot. This is good. Right now, he just needs to separate himself, get a nice little gap, and start pushing his way out, because we know that Justin Cooper is going to be fast in this one.
So a 2-stroke against a 4-stroke right now up front, but it's all Yamahas. Wow, Challen Tennant, beautiful in this first lap.
Ooh, it looks like he's stuffing in the corner there in the 2-stroke, but let's go back on the pass here. Challen Tennant just getting that drive, able to go double, triple again, and hitting that little single out, and puts himself into that #1 spot.
So Challen Tennant with the lead. You see the 22 in third place, Remy Alves. He was able to sneak his way through and let's see if he can run him down. Now up to second.
Remy Alves, another South American rider, making this a huge international field. He's got that wild, loose, out-of-control style. I love watching him ride. He's always a fun guy, a lot of action, excitement, and he's having a good run in this one. I like how he's making moves quick out of the gate. I always tell people the best time to make passes is the first of the moto. Everybody's grouped up. You can pass 5 guys in a couple sections. Once the race gets later on, it's very hard to make those passes in big groups.
So you got Alves second, Lopes in the 16 in third. Jair Mitchell out of Bermuda comes through next. So 2 riders with South American bloodlines, and then the rider out of Bermuda. So a real international flavor early in this one. Joey Crown out of Michigan on that green, number 35, comes through next. We still have not seen Justin Cooper. We finally found him here in the 17.
Justin Cooper making moves up to the front. To kind of comment though on our international field, usually if you see they're from Cairo, Georgia, that means they're not from America, because they all train down there at Millsap's training facility. And they move up here to do all their training and riding. But wow, who is that right there just bulldogging on the Kawasaki?
That's Crown, and he better, because Justin Cooper is making a mad rush around the outside. He's going to try to make 2 passes here, and he does.
And he gets that middle rut, which was good. See, if he would have floated all the way to the outside, he would have lost that position to Crown, but Crown is not going to give up. But he ends up pinching him off there, able to get him shut off before we hit that double, and now into the sand for Justin Cooper. Riding the high line by the bales, carrying that momentum. Love watching these riders stay on the pegs, use those legs for suspension, but here's the pass through the sand. Just like we just were talking about, staying on your feet, on your toes, coming through the sand. He just stays wide open around, flows that bike in, stays off the brakes, leans it into that middle rut. Would have been so easy for him to go outside, gave up a little more ground. He would have not made that pass stick. So Justin Cooper, knowing what he needs to do to get the job done here today.
Oh, and Enzo Lopes makes a huge mistake. Alves gets caught up in it, sneaking through his Mitchell Falk and Justin Cooper.
Lopes throwing away a great ride there in second place. Now he's got a lot of work to do. That electric start not working out for the best right now. He gets it fired. Wow, he's probably dropped back to at least right around 10th or outside of the top 10, but looks like the number 69 is out front in command on this one, Challen Tennant.
Let's take us through what happened with Lopes here, Jimmy.
And he was close to Challen coming in, maybe just a little bit too antsy. He started hopping around when that front wheel just dived out of that middle rut. It was all over from there. Rear wheel was in one rut, front wheel in the other, just kind of high-sided over. But Remy Alves now taking control of that number 2 spot.
Oh, but for how long? Because Justin Cooper is there, and he is absolutely on his horse now. He's found his groove, and he's just going anywhere he wants to try to make passes. Alves just able to hold him off on this straightaway. Another outside line attempt by Cooper.
Alves trying really hard to stay in front of Cooper, but Cooper just carrying that momentum and then shutting him down on the inside. He's going to head into the 10 Commandments to just try to keep it low and keep that momentum rolling. But Alves, man, having the sights of first place, Challen Tennant, right there, and then getting gobbled up by Justin Cooper. Now Justin Cooper is on the chase for the lead. He is going to try to track down Challen Tennant, who has been in well control of this one all moto.
But now that Cooper has found his pace, there might be time for him to make a bid for the lead. Stay with us. The Amateur National Motocross Championship at Loretta Lynn Ranch is brought to you by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. And by Lucas Oil. Made in America, sold to the world. Battle is on. Challen Tennant leading your first 250A moto. This is the creme de la creme of amateur motocross racing. Future pro stars here. Justin Cooper in second has caught his Yamaha teammate, Challen Tennant. And a lot of talk about these two. Tennant, who had the big Premier Star Factory Yamaha ride coming into this. We now hear it might swap, and that spot might go to Cooper. So it'd be big if Tennant could hold on and win this moto.
Yeah, Tennant has risen to the occasion on this one. Cooper caught him from quite a ways back, and now he seems like he's maintaining that little gap. Let's see if Cooper can't make it any further up. Did you see Cooper hammer down there? I thought he was going to go for the triple, had to back it down. So maybe Cooper overthinking this a little bit too much, thinking, man, I got the moto win right in front of me.
Yeah.
Now that he's not just focused on getting through the field. So we'll see if Challen Tennant can't make this basically a start-to-finish ride.
And Challen Tennant's one that understands how big moto wins at this event are.
I really like this place. When I come to the gates here at Loretta's, it's like history just hits you in the face. It's like everything just kind of is like, whoa, like, you know, you come here every year and you remember that the best pros in motocross have raced here years before. So it's a pretty cool thing to be here because it's a huge piece of history in motocross. So I think it's an awesome place.
Tennant working his way through lap traffic right now. Well, it's a really awesome place when you come out here and win. Back was against the wall, needed to perform in this moto. Got it done, and has pulled away a bit from Justin Cooper. I'm a little surprised that Cooper's charge didn't last. Yeah,
no, that was really impressive. You know, when somebody's got the momentum rolling forward like that, and you're able to hold off the challenge. I like that little pre-hop, how he gets over that bump, just letting the bike really grease into the downsides. Man, what a ride, you know. You can say all day long that Justin Cooper was coming, but he held off the charge.
All right, so that's a big moto win for Tennant early here in the first race in 250A. Here are your results. Alves third, so it's a Yamaha sweep. Joey Crown was fourth. So after the first moto, Challen Tennant looking good.
You know, that moto was great. First of all, I got to thank my mechanic. He packed my gate perfect, and I got out to an awesome start. I think I was third coming around the first corner and just kind of diced my way through these treacherous ruts here at Loretta's, and I got into first and then just kind of held my own line, tried to save energy so I could have a little sprint for the end. And Cooper was coming, I could hear him, but I just tried to block it out and race my own race.
But you got to do it 3 times out here at Loretta Lynn Ranch to win a championship. And in Moto 2, Richard Jackson out of Oklahoma, he's the one that gets to start. But Justin Cooper much closer to the front this time, and it would not take long for the New Yorker to overhaul him for the lead. So Cooper with that #1 spot. Then a battle develops in these KTM riders. Enzo Lopes is going to make the pass for second, and he knows exactly what the job is. He's got to try to keep Justin Cooper in sight and really show what he's made of. So Lopes takes the second place spot away from Jackson, and this is the corner where he threw it away in the first moto. He keeps it upright and tries to keep the pressure on Justin Cooper. Cooper will go on to get the moto win over Lopes and Jace Pennington. Tennant not able to make it happen, a disappointing 9th in this one. So suddenly, Justin Cooper finds himself in control of this championship heading into the third moto. Now Tennant gets a start this time and leads early. But Julio Zambrano in that 70, briefly able to wrestle the spot away from him. Justin Cooper up to third. Mitchell Falk right behind Cooper. And Joey Crown and Remy Alves battling it out inside the top 5. So a nice battle. This second place is so pivotal. Tennant against Cooper, both fighting for a professional Yamaha ride for next year. And Cooper's gonna make the pass on Tennant right here on a track that is very slick and muddy after some rain. And then Cooper puts the sights on Zambrano.
The track's in one of those conditions, and it looks like he's going to carry that momentum through the outside line. We've seen Justin Cooper doing that all week, just keeping that momentum, opening the track up, and then being able to fall into these lines. That's really the recipe for a great professional rider, somebody who widens the track up. They can visually just see the track unfolding in front of them. And it looks like we have, yes, that's Jordan Bailey on that Rockstar Husqvarna. We talked about he kind of struggled during the week, but hopefully late in the week he started turning things around, and now having a better run here in Moto #3. But it's going to be all Justin Cooper all day. Dominating performance here at the ranch in 2017.
And that's enough to give him not only the title in 250A, but combined with the Open Pro Sport Championship that we showed you in our other show, he will be your Nicky Hayden AMA Horizon Award winner.
Yeah, this class is a little more important for me. It shows I'll be going pro on the 250, so I want to do good in this class. So I couldn't ask for any more. I'm so happy.
Well, the track has fallen quiet here. We have completed the 36th annual Rocky Mountain ATV-MC AMA Amateur National Championship at Loretta Lynn Ranch, presented by Lucas Oil. We didn't have the huge variety of weather that you normally expect from the event, but it didn't matter. The racing ended up pretty mixed up anyway.
Yeah, it was crazy mixed up. But man, we had a lot of standouts this year. We had that Daxton Bennett battle between Hayden Deegan and him. They just diced it out, went back and forth. Then we ended up having a great racing in the 250B class. Garrett Marksbanks, wow, what not to say about him. And then, of course, the Pro Sport class. That is the big one. And Justin Cooper on that Yamaha coming away with both titles and the Horizon Award. Great job for Justin Cooper.
Yeah, he's going to be one to watch going into the pros, and there's a whole lot of other riders we've introduced you to the last 2 weeks that are going to be professionals and make a great name for themselves in the future. So for Jimmy Albertson and Jason Wygant, thanks for joining us from Loretta Lynn's.